When it comes to topics surrounding artificial intelligence, there are seemingly endless avenues to pursue. However, from the beginning, our group all felt strongly about this topic of AI policy gap. So this can mean a variety of different things. As Diane pointed out last night, there's this gap between technology creators and policymakers. And we also noticed this gap between policymakers and the general public. So we started to notice a trend of a gap between policymakers and everybody. So we see these types of gaps early on in our education. I mean, the genius of this course is we get this interdisciplinary experience that many of our core undergraduate courses lack. So we have this lack of dialogue between faculties and university, and this often transcends into the workplace. So when we have this knowledge gap, it kind of seems inevitable. So this was kind of our first thought when we thought about what we wanted to explore in terms of implications of artificial intelligence. However, it was also mentioned last night that many of these policies and practices have the potential to become a race to the bottom in terms of ethics. But we also wanted to show that this can become a race to the top. Some of these policies regarding AI we came across in our research were terrifying, but some were enlightening. AI will change everything, and these policies begin to show this: the good, the bad, and the extremely vague. So some of you had the opportunity to play our game throughout the day, but for those who didn't, I'm going to hand it over to Genevieve, who will explain our playable AI game, Artifacts, the game of truth, lies, and the intelligence to tell the difference.
Awesome. Let me just change the slide. Oh, there we go. Okay. So if you haven't had the opportunity to play our game, we created an interactive card game based off of the popular icebreaker, Two Truths, One Lie. So what we did is we presented players with a scenario card, and on the scenario card there is a potential policy that has been implemented with regards to the scenario. Then players would receive 3 cards. One of the cards is the actual policy that has been implemented, and 2 of them are fake. So in the example here on the slides, one of the cards that we had was Amazon and drones. So the scenario is Amazon wants to test drone deliveries. What is the policy that the U.S. government implemented? Did the U.S. government allow Amazon to implement drones, not allow Amazon to test drones, or not allow Amazon to test drones and they would have to relocate to Canada? And the answer was, if you haven't played our game, they did allow Amazon to test eventually in 2016. So that's just an example of one of the scenarios that we've gone through. We also have different categories that you could choose from to play around with. We did policies around autonomous vehicles, autonomous weapons, data privacy, we had 9 other scenarios. And something that was really cool is that it wasn't just only one person could play, multiple people could play. We had 3 sets of response cards, so 3 people could be playing this game at a time. So now I'm going to turn it over to Austin, who will be talking about the purpose of our card game.
So we really had 4 things in mind when we came up with this game. Starting from our own perspective, the first thing we wanted to address is awareness, that a lot of people are not aware of what the issues surrounding AI are, but also not aware of what policies are being considered and what policies have already been implemented. For example, none of us knew at the very beginning that, as of right now, self-driving cars are legal in Ontario with someone in the driver's seat. But we were completely unaware of that, and we thought that this is something that people should know and just should be aware of what kind of policies are going on generally. And related to an awareness is the subject of confusion. A lot of people are confused, even if they are aware that debates are going on or aware that there are laws, they're maybe confused about why these debates are taking place, what exactly is the important point, is this policy the right thing to do, and what is actually just a debate at the moment versus what's already been done and what's implemented right now in our laws in Canada or laws around the world. And we wanted to also alleviate this confusion so people can come around out of our game feeling a lot more confident that they're aware of issues and less confused. But more than that, we would like to motivate people. Hopefully, because we live in a democracy, we have an ability to, at some level, to influence the laws that are created. So we hope that this would motivate people to look more into the issues, examine things that they feel passionate about, and then hopefully get involved and actually try to advocate for things that they feel need to be changed, suggest laws that they believe are good, suggest that laws that they feel are bad be changed, and ultimately help our democracy work more effectively. So to explain about how we created the game, I'm going to hand it over to Grace.
So that looks a little different when it's on Google Slides, I promise. So I'm sure you're all dying to know how we actually went about creating this game. So given the fact that one of our intentions behind this game was to inform people about different AI policies, we had to inform ourselves. So we went through a research process of basically identifying some key actors that we wanted to look at, and then we looked into what sort of AI policies they were beginning to implement. However, through our research and lots of discussion, we realized that that was a fairly large net to cast, and so we decided to tailor that a little bit more to focus on some hot topics in AI. So those were things like autonomous vehicles, lethal autonomous weapons, even things like e-commerce with the Amazon example. And so we each kind of selected some of those and then did more research on what some countries are doing to respond to those things. And then through a process of various game iterations and conversations with our groups and our classmates, we decided which policies were more effective to talk about, whether or not we wanted to include other global actors like the United Nations. And so through that, we ended up with the game that we presented today. That provides specific examples of different AI policies, but also brings in that global perspective that we really wanted to keep on the relevancy of the issue. So now I'm going to pass it on to Zamir to talk about some of the results we found today.
And so over the course of the entire day, we had a really diverse set of people come to our booth. Some people who were really educated on certain government policies and some people who are not as politically inclined. Either way, as creators, I think we had the most joy in taking away or having people take away something, regardless whether they were educated on the topic or not. Some people learned some new things, some people got some validation on their current perceptions, and some people just had fun time playing by themselves or competing with their friends. We did notice a few interesting trends that I wanted to share over here, and that includes that we saw that people often tended to gravitate towards really hot topics such as autonomous drones, warfare, but sort of didn't interact as much with cards that involved research or ethics. And the other thing was in terms of how people actually performed. We saw that people performed the best when it came to drones. About 55% of the people that played got the correct policy with drones, and only 17% of people got the correct policy with data privacy, so that was the worst performing category. And I think the major takeaway that we found with all this was that it is indeed so difficult to keep up with AI because it is such a broad topic, and it sort of just provides perspective on how difficult it is for policymakers to keep up with this because it is a broad topic and there are a lot of things to cover, and so that's what just put into perspective for us about the challenges with policymaking altogether. And Grace is just going to wrap up for us now.
Overall, we hope this project implores you to think critically, learn actively, and continue to advocate for the world and political reality that you want to live in. And we also hope you guys had some fun playing our game. Thanks for listening.